Let's get it, 580 Sports Talk on a Red Friday. A football Friday, a huge football Friday in the state of Kansas. And we are delighted that you are starting your afternoon and your weekend with us here on 580 Sports Talk on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And on our video stream, you're checking us out on YouTube. Our channel is 580 Sports Talk. If you're watching on Facebook, you are watching at WIBW News. However you are joining us, thank you for joining us. Dan Lucero, Brendan Brzezinski, Spencer Dupuis in here with you for the next 2 hours. That's right, I said 2. We're off at 5 o'clock today to make way for the Royals Baseball Network game 1 of 3 for the boys in blue in Pittsburgh at PNC Park, as they began a series with the Pirates tonight. 15 games remaining in the regular season for the Royals. So we only have 2 hours on this Red Friday. It's a long way to go. We got a short time to get there. And we have jam-packed these 2 hours of 580 Sports Talk today. Lots of Chiefs talk. Chiefs-Bengals, Sunday, Arrowhead Stadium. We'll break it down. We'll give you our keys to the game, our big Chief picks, our predictions for Sunday. KU and K-State both play tonight. KU at Children's Mercy Park, 9-point favorites against UNLV. K-State and Arizona, they're on Big Fox. Big network opportunity for K-State to put something out there in front of the country and perhaps earn another major impressive non-conference win, although Arizona is, of course, a conference foe. K-State and Arizona in the Battle of the Wildcats tonight at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. We'll break those games down later on in this program. We'll have our 580 Sports Talk Picks Contest presented by Prairie Band Sportsbook, reaching week number 3. Spencer and I need to rack up some wins. Brendan, the only one of us above water for the season so far. We will get to that. Royals baseball on the cusp of the postseason. Lost for the Guardians last night. Maybe the Central is still alive. Lost for the Red Sox last night. I told you they're about to collapse. It's getting closer for the Royals, and we will talk some baseball. Max Rieper of Royals Review joins us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest joins us at the bottom of this hour, our Chiefs Insider. He'll join us to help us further break down the Chiefs and the Bengals. You are, as always, invited and encouraged to participate in the show. Hit us up if you are watching on YouTube or Facebook in the comments or the YouTube live chat. We love to see those live chats interacting with us and other listeners. You can also hit the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. From construction sites to renovations, from the farm to the garage, Top City Metal Supply understands the value of precision and cost efficiency. No more wasted materials, no more wasted money, just metal cut to the exact size you need. Top City Metal Supply is located on South Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field. Again, that number, the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. It's a jam-packed show. It's a jam-packed weekend. Christopher in the YouTube comments says the radio buttons are going to be mashed and rubbed out after tonight. Let's go ahead and clear that up because we had a question also on the Top City Metal Supply text line as well, where you can hear what you want to hear tonight, because we have got games all over the place this weekend. If you're looking for Royals baseball, we'll keep it simple. The Royals are on 580 all weekend. Royals baseball right here on 580 WIBW, starting with tonight's series opener, 5 o'clock pregame, 5:40 first pitch. That means high school football tonight, our Lewis Toyota game of the week. Topeka West hosting Shawnee Heights at Hummer Sports Park. Will be on our sister station, Country 106.9, KTPK FM. Pregame at 6:45, kickoff at 7. If you're looking for Kansas State and Arizona, that will be on our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country, 94.5 WIBW FM. Pregame coverage starting at 5 o'clock. The kickoff from Bill Snyder Family Stadium at 7. That's tonight. Royals on 580, followed by the Kansas High School Football Scoreboard Show at 10. Cats on 94.5, high school football on 106.9. Saturday, Royals on 580, Washburn football, Ichabod home opener against Colorado School of Mines, 1 o'clock kick, 12:30 pregame. That's on 106.9 KTPK. And if you're interested, we've got a national football broadcast for you on 580 in the afternoon before Royals baseball. Alabama at Wisconsin, pregame at 10:30, and the kickoff at 11 from Compass Media Networks. Alabama at Wisconsin tomorrow here on 580. Then on Sunday, Royals baseball on 580, Chiefs football, 2 o'clock pregame, 3:25 kickoff at Arrowhead Stadium. The Chiefs taking on the Bengals. You'll be able to hear that on the big 94.5 Country, 94.5 WIBW FM. I think that's everything.
I'm very impressed. Yeah. That was a very good job.
I had to take a breath and also let people know that you guys were in the studio with me.
Yes, I am here.
I am back.
Hi, guys. It's great to have you. Spencer, it's great to have you back after you missed the last couple of days.
Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better.
We're glad to hear it. We've got lots to get to, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Before we get to our Chiefs-Bengals keys to the game, some significant Chiefs news from earlier today as wide receiver Hollywood Brown has been placed on injured reserve as he will undergo surgery to repair the dislocated SC joint that he suffered on the first damn play of the preseason. Rick Burkholder spoke to the media earlier today, the Chiefs trainer, and told the media effectively that they were concerned about where the bone was relative to where it was supposed to be and decided that because of the risk that this injury carries, like the way that his shoulder became dislocated, it is not an exaggeration to say that that bone could move in such a way that could potentially be life-threatening. So you don't want to play any games with resetting this bone. And what they came to find was that the bone had moved in the healing process in such a way that they felt like surgery was necessary. So Hollywood Brown will undergo surgery on Monday in Vail, Colorado. And it seems likely that this will cost him most of the regular season. Not all of the regular season. But Matt Verderam, our NFL insider, reported on Twitter earlier today that he is hearing that Hollywood Brown will not play for most of the regular season. And normally, you'd look at a guy who was brought in to be wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2, and you'd say, man, that is a huge blow to the Chiefs offense. And I don't want to minimize it too much, but based on what we saw week 1, I feel like this Chiefs offense can still function and still be better than it was last year, even without Hollywood Brown. And it just makes it more exciting what it could look like when he does come back, whenever that may be.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge thing to get later on. Like, that's a consolation prize of it all, is that we're going to be headed down the home stretch of the season, if not, hopefully the home stretch of the season, the last few weeks, if not in the playoffs, and you get one of the most talented wide receivers across the NFL right now back, and your receiving core is already better than it was last year.
I feel bad for Hollywood Brown. I guess that's sort of the last final thought I have on this. Like, I just feel bad for the dude. It would have been a great piece to have for the Chiefs. I still think this offense is better overall, Spencer, as you were alluding to, even if you don't have Hollywood Brown, because I think if Xavier Worthy is able to give you anything, okay, your receiving core is better. Juju, even if I have some apprehension about how he's going to hold up over the course of 17 games, still probably, all things considered, an upgrade over Tony and even Sky Moore, who's now been relegated to last guy on the depth chart at this point. And I think your running game is better this year. I think your offensive line is better this year. So all those things considered, the offense still is taking a step up from a year ago. Losing out on that speed obviously is a huge bummer, but they'll be fine. That's the thing. It sort of mirrors our conversations from the last 2 days, Dan. I mean, I don't really feel like this is going to set back the offense, regardless of what they're going to tell you on First Take and on Get Up over the next few days. Like, this is not going to do all that much damage to the offense overall.
It limits the number of guys that you can stretch the field with, for sure, and it probably puts a little bit more on Xavier Worthy than the Chiefs were expecting to put on Worthy, but
baptize him by fire.
Week 1 kind of showed he was up for it, right? Yeah. Like, he looked up for it in week 1.
Who is going to have a more significant change in role from week 1 into now the rest of the season, knowing that Hollywood's not going to play? Xavier Worthy or Justin Watson?
Probably Watson.
Well, I mean, what did Watson get 1 target, 1 catch on Thursday night?
I believe that's correct.
I think he'll increase, just like it's bars on the floor for him.
Mm-hmm. I guess the point I'm trying to make is, does this mean you are going to use Xavier Worthy like you wanted to use Hollywood Brown? Or are you still going to leave him in the role you had already carved out for him, at least at the start of the year,
I understand,
and say, Watson, you've been around. You're not as good as Hollywood Brown, but we can trust you a little bit more to do some of those things, at least for the time being. That's the camp I'm in with the latter.
I think you're right. Like, if you assume that Hollywood Brown was brought in to replace, like, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and they're not the same player, obviously, but, like, as your primary field stretcher, then I think asking Justin Watson to do that stuff and keep Xavier Worthy doing the Xavier Worthy stuff that you had planned for him when you drafted him might be the better way to go about it. There just might be more Xavier Worthy stuff.
I agree with that. I'm with you on that 100%. I think you're still probably, at least for the first half of the year. And if I'm wrong about this is probably a good thing, and it means that Worthy is ahead of where I think he is right now. But I think you're still probably, for the time being, keeping Worthy in a spot where he's going to get more manufactured touches. The first touchdown he got, that's what you would call against Baltimore, a manufactured touch, the jet sweep, some of the more chintzy stuff, just finding a way to get the ball in his hands more easily than you need to worry about for other guys to make sure that you are utilizing his skills, getting him involved, getting him a little bit more used to the offense.
So we will talk more about the impact of Brown's injury with Matt Derrick, our Chiefs insider. He'll join us at the bottom of this hour to talk Chiefs, as he does every Friday on the program. So we'll get more from him and talk a little bit more about this injury, what it means, who might be elevated from the practice squad to replace Hollywood Brown on the 53-man roster, all that good stuff. But for now, it's time to get into our keys to the game for the Chiefs and the Bengals Sunday afternoon at Arrowhead Stadium. I will go first with my first key to the game. And I thought I was onto something here that nobody else was talking about. Then I watched, I don't know if any of you guys watch or listen to Mina Kimes' podcast, the Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny.
Regular listener.
She previews every game every week on Friday. It looks like she's going to have like a rotating cast of characters who help her preview all the games. And Mina made this exact same point that I made. The Chiefs have one of the best tackling secondaries in the NFL now. That did not always used to be the case. And do you know who used to feast on the fact that did not always used to be the case? Jamar Chase. We all remember that big 200-yard game he had. That was the end of 2021, wasn't it?
Yes,
that was the end of 2021 in the regular season in particular, where he just had that huge game against the Chiefs. This Chiefs secondary, even with the loss of L'Jarius Sneed this offseason, much more physical, much better tackling secondary, much better tackling cornerback group. And I think with the likely absence of T. Higgins for Sunday, we're going to see Trent McDuffie as Jamar Chase's shadow. And I like that matchup for the Chiefs in the sense that I think McDuffie's a very good cover man, but I also think he's the best tackling cornerback in the NFL. I don't know where the big plays are coming from right now for the Bengals offense, especially if Joe Burrow's not physically comfortable throwing the ball deep down the field. Even if he were, who's going to go get it other than Jamar Chase right now? Like, who are those big, deep targets? Tyler Boyd, not around. T. Higgins, not going to play. This is just a very different offense that doesn't play to that particular vertical strength. So the big plays for the Bengals are going to have to come in yards after the catch. You're going to have to come on broken plays, kind of like the Lamar Jackson to Isaiah Likely touchdown last Thursday that the Ravens scored. And Jamar Chase is always a threat. But again, I really like that matchup for the Chiefs with McDuffie. I think if the Chiefs make the Bengals sustain drives, I don't think they're going to be potent enough to do it in a way that lets them keep up with the Chiefs offensively. That's my first key to the game.
Yeah, with that, I'll go with my defensive key here first. I titled it the Uno reverse card. We spoke about it earlier this week. A lot of teams did the too high thing, the too high shell, which everybody does all the time. But a lot of teams did that against the Chiefs in 2021. Two frustrating results for Kansas City. But nobody got more credit and attention for it than the Bengals did, specifically because that's what they did in the second half of the AFC Championship game, where Mahomes really, really struggled and the offense never got off the ground in that meltdown loss to the Bengals. Bengals obviously went on to Super Bowl 56. My key here, turn the tables, flip it around, make the Bengals do the old Hank Stram, matriculate the ball down the field, make them win on dinking and dunking, make them win on small little bit plays instead of the big chunk plays. Week 1, the Bengals, no explosion whatsoever. The run game never got going against the Patriots. Burrow, frankly, in a very non-Burrow-like thing, looked scared to push the ball. And on multiple third down and mediums, third down and even short, they were throwing the ball short of the sticks. It was very bizarre, very modern Bengals, Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor-like. Play into that and try to take away the deep stuff. Put your two safeties back if you're Steve Spagnuolo. Say, all right, go ahead. Complete 70% of your passes when you're throwing for 4 yards through the air on each attempt. Take away all those explosive things, because if they do not find a way to be explosive with Jamar Chase, with the run game, and I know you might say with the run game, well, Joe Mixon's gone. Well, Chase Brown, who is now, and Zach Moss, their new running back group, Chase Brown, his whole thing is explosive runs, is that if you get him in space, he can make big things happen. Take that stuff away. Make them beat you keeping the ball in front of you, because frankly, I don't think that they are going to be able to do that. I like this Chiefs defense in the matchup. I think Trent McDuffie is without question the best tackling cornerback in the NFL. He's great against the run and against the pass. You intentionally take away the explosive stuff, I think the Chiefs defense is able to get it done pretty easily.
Spencer, you got a first key for this one?
Yeah, I would love to see them get the running game more involved. The Chiefs, that being the Chiefs, and see what Samaje Perine could do. Give him some touches in this game. He didn't see a single rush last week in the game. I'd like to see him get the ball a little bit.
I'm going to reverse the order here. I'm going to jump the line and reverse the order, because that was my second key as well. Run the damn ball. The Bengals front seven is a bunch of okay to nice guys. Their best run stuffer is now a Detroit Lion. They should have given DJ Reader whatever he wanted, because their front now, and really their entire front seven, not built to stop the run, not built to stop what can be a road grading running game for the Chiefs. Do you trust Tooney and Humphrey and Smith in the interior? If the answer is yes, give the ball a bunch to Isaiah Pacheco. The Patriots did a great job last week controlling time of possession. They slowed things down. They controlled the tempo of that game. Cincinnati never had an answer for it. I do not think they found an answer for it in the course of 1 week with the exact same guys out there now going up against an even better team. So run the ball, give it to Isaiah Pacheco. They're not going to want to tackle that guy. They might not want to tackle Carson Steele very much.
No. I mean, heck, even if
on the ground,
they try to tackle Pacheco, we saw what he did last week. He didn't go down a couple times. He was landed on players' backs and was able to keep going.
And this should be one of those games. I know the Chiefs, especially early in the year, like to give a limited number of carries to Isaiah Pacheco because he's gotten banged up over time. You want him when the weather is worse and when you need him the most in the postseason. I get that. This should be one of those rare 20 carry games for Isaiah Pacheco, because I don't think the Bengals have an answer for him.
Second key for me is red zone efficiency. And I would really like to not sound like a broken record on this again this season, because we talked about it so much last year. The Chiefs just seem to have trouble finishing drives. They had 2 golden opportunities for touchdowns last week and ended up having to settle for field goals. And look, nobody's going to bat 1,000 for the season. That Ravens defense is good, but I felt like the Chiefs weren't crisp. They had a holding call that was killer. They had the drop pass at the goal line by Juju Smith-Schuster. Even just one additional touchdown instead of a field goal on those 2 opportunities where the Chiefs settled for field goals, you're talking about a game that at the end is 31-20 and not 27-20. And we're not talking about Isaiah Likely's shoe size. We're talking about the commanding victory for the Chiefs that it was everywhere but the scoreboard. So I want to see more red zone efficiency from the Chiefs, finishing those drives. And again, you do that on the ground. You do that by being able to pick up 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 with the ground game when the field shrinks, being able to be dominant physically up front. And the Chiefs should have an opportunity to do that. Quickly, Spencer, a second key.
Yeah, I think it's get after Joe Burrow from the rush standpoint. He did not look comfortable at all throwing the ball. Hell, he didn't even look comfortable picking up Gatorade bottles. I'm not sure if you saw the video compilation that somebody put together on Twitter of him like grimacing with his wrist, his hand, and then trying to pick up a Gatorade bottle, having to grab it with his other hand and then flip it into his hand to flip it up. I don't know if he's 100% healthy. Just get him to where he's forcing the ball out, and that may be a help to having completions.
He is a very slow starter historically, and
1-8 in the first 2 weeks of the season in his career.
Yeah, that was one of Mitch Holtis's nuggets of the night last night, which was pretty cool. So Chiefs have to get after Burrow, no question about that. We're going to take a quick break here. We'll come back with our big Chief picks and our game predictions. Matt Derrick's going to join us in a little bit, but first, think there are any K-State fans listening tonight?
I would imagine there's 1 or 2.
Think anybody might want to go to the game tonight against Arizona? I have happened into 2 pairs of K-State football tickets for tonight's game against Arizona. Now, I understand kickoff is in less than 4 hours, 3.5 to be precise. So I want to make sure I give these tickets away to someone who can go. But if you got nothing going on Friday night, you want to go out to Bill Snyder Family Stadium, you're willing to brave the traffic we'll email you or text you these tickets. We'll get them out to you, and you can go and pack the bill and make it loud and lively for tonight's Wildcat versus Wildcat showdown. First caller, 785-272-9429. If you want them, if you can go tonight, you got them here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll take a break back after this on the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. We have one winner of a pair of tickets to go see K-State and Arizona tonight. But did I mention I had two pairs? Give me two pair. I need two pair. So I can stomp into my Air Force Ones. I get to stomp into my Air Force Ones.
Nice.
I got another pair of K-State tickets tonight. We'll give them away later on. So be listening to 580 Sports Talk and your cue to call, and we'll get another lucky fan out to Bill Snyder Family Stadium tonight. Again, understand it's a short turnaround time, but if you've got the wherewithal, the time on a Friday night, you want to go to the game, little impromptu trip out to the Bill, we can make it happen for you. Just be listening for your cue to call. Chiefs-Bengals on Sunday. We're going to talk all about it with Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com here in just a little bit. But first, it's time for our Big Chief picks and our game predictions. Per our friends at Prairie Band Sportsbook in Mayetta, Kansas City is a 6-point favorite, and the total over-under is 48 points. I'm going to double check and make sure that's still correct because there's been a lot of line movement on that game. It's been 5, 5.5, been at 6 at some points, but it is still sitting right now at Prairie Band Sportsbook at -6. The Chiefs -6, and the over-under is 48. So, Spencer, I will let you pick first a Big Chief and a final score.
Drew Tranquil, I think he needs to step up as the starting middle linebacker. And I think the final score is going to be a 10-point game. Chiefs 31, Bengals 21.
So you're on the Chiefs in the over
Yes.
in that one. All right, Brendan.
I probably gave the Bengals too much credit here. I went with 30-21. I did not just copy Spencer. I put that in a video that was posted on YouTube this morning, so I was there first. I promise. I'm going with Pacheco. Who's going to tackle him? Who is going to stop him? That's too long for an answer for me to think anybody is going to reliably do it for the Bengals. So give me the Chiefs. I think they score a bunch. I probably gave the Bengals too much credit here.
Bengals always play the Chiefs tough. Like, there's a part of me that thinks, man, what if the Chiefs just go nuke them? And the Bengals are again lousy in an early season game, which has kind of been their MO under Zach Taylor. Again, they're 1-10 in the first 2 weeks of the season under Zach Taylor, which is remarkable to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So what if the Chiefs just go out and throw fire for 3.5 hours and just blow the Bengals out, humiliate the Bengals? Like, that possibility exists, but I'm scared of the history of the Bengals playing the Chiefs really, really tough. Maybe tougher than anybody ever thinks they're going to play them. Even last year when Jake Browning was quarterback, that was a 4-quarter game. Didn't need to be, but it was. So I think this is going to be a little closer. I have Trent McDuffie as my big chief because I think he's going to lock up Jamar Chase and make it really hard for Chase to make the big plays the Bengals are going to need to win on Sunday. And no better time than Sunday. I'm just going to keep predicting he's going to get his first career interception until it actually happens. Because, look, who else is Joe Burrow throwing to? You think he's going to give Andre Yoshivas 12 targets?
Be wild if he did.
No, man.
No, it's more likely that Zach Moss gets 12 targets.
Yeah, a lot of stuff out of the backfield. No, I think it's going to be, they're going to try to get the ball to Jamar Chase, and Trent McDuffie is going to have some opportunities. So he's my big chief. I am a coward. I am taking the Chiefs by 6, 27-21, and I like that's the implied score on the over-under.
Yeah.
Sounds about right to me. I think the Bengals will keep it closer than people maybe think, but I think the Chiefs have too much firepower, and they'll pull this one out. I like the Chiefs on Sunday. We're all on the Chiefs. Brendan and Spencer are on the spread and the over. I am not touching it with my hard-earned cash to bet. But if you would like to bet it, bet your way up at Prairie Band Sportsbook in Mayetta. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Matt Derrick joins us. He's our Chiefs insider from ChiefsDigest.com. That's coming up next here on 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio.
part of each transaction so sellers can get back to running their businesses and bidders can trust us to make the buying process safe and simple. Our transparent marketplace is free of reserves, minimum bids, and hidden fees. If you're upgrading or downsizing or just want to update your inventory of farm, construction, or fleet equipment, then don't wait. Visit purplewave.com today. Purple Wave Auction. Straight, simple, sold.
Bentley, don't chase the whales, moose, and caribou. Is Alaska on your bucket list? This is Tim Hirsch from Cruise Holidays and Tours at Topeka. You are invited to our on-stage Alaska event. Cruise Holidays and Holland America Line are working together to bring you a stunning visual presentation, a live event in Topeka on September 18th at 5:30 p.m. Call Cruise Holidays for information and to register.
Cruise Holidays and Tours.
The Kansas Department of Transportation and the Drive to Zero Coalition invite you to join Fans with a Plan. If you're going to be drinking, always designate a sober driver.
WIBW, Topeka.
Kansas City.
And we look forward to the challenge. We look forward to that challenge.
I'm going to Kansas City.
Mr. Official, let me ask you something. How can 6 of you miss a play like that?
His name is Matt.
Are you ready?
My name is Matt.
Let's go.
Let's go to Kansas City, shall we, for Matt Derrick's weekly appearance on 580 Sports Talk. Matt of ChiefsDigest.com is our Chiefs insider and joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. And Matt, lots to get to regarding the game on Sunday, but let's start with the big news of the day for the Chiefs. Hollywood Brown headed to injured reserve. A chance that he could miss the majority, maybe the vast majority of this regular season to come. Just how big a deal is that for the Chiefs offense? What does that keep them from being able to do that maybe hinders them or limits their ceiling as we go along?
I think you hit on the exact phrase, Dan. I think it's just what it does to limit their ceiling. I think they proved in week one, this is an offense that can do a lot. It's going to be dynamic no matter what. Compared to the rest of the league, I think this was clearly maybe a top 5 offense in week one. Small sample size, but yeah, I think that the addition of Hollywood Brown to this lineup simply would have just given them a threat at every single level. This wouldn't be just a team that could attack you deep or intermediate with Rashee Rice. You know, there's another element that Hollywood would add to it, and it even gives you just another deep speed weapon. So I think, you know, to me, it's like when this offense was entirely healthy, I thought, hey, 7 yards of play, like this team was close to doing in 2018, 2019 seasons, you know, it's back on the table. But I think this just limits them a little bit. So, I mean, can they still be one of the top offenses in the league? I think they proved that in week one. There's still so much that they can do. They're still so much better than they were a year ago. They didn't just go out and get one guy. They got a bunch of guys to upgrade that room. And so I don't think it really, you know, takes off the luster too much. I think it just lowers the ceiling a little bit about what's the maximum that they can do.
Does this change how Xavier Worthy will be used? Do you think that they will use him in a different way than they had planned? Or do you think they'll keep him in the same role and maybe expand the snaps for guys like Juju or Justin Watson?
Yeah, I think it's more the latter. I don't think that they want to change the game plan with Xavier very much, if at all. I think they want to stick with exactly what their plan was for him, which was, you know, mostly playing the Z receivers this year. He would be the kind of, and it's very similar to the role that Tyreek played as a rookie, guy that they could put in motion, take advantage of that speed, bend down the field. I don't think that they want to put the pressure of him, you know, being an X receiver. I don't think that they want to put that load on him, and they certainly don't want to be expecting him to be an every down receiver. They want him to have the focus of the playbook that he was going to have at the beginning of the season and not change it up. So, yeah, I think, you know, you're talking about those reps. Yeah, I think Juju's in the mix, Justin Watson, Sky Moore. I mean, there's a number of players I think that they'll use to rotate through there in the role that they envision for Hollywood, but I just don't think it'll change. What I think it might change, however, is just the maybe target frequency that Xavier gets, because if he's out there with some other receivers that aren't Hollywood Brown, I think there's just a better chance that the ball's going to be coming his direction.
Let's get to the game now as the Bengals come to town to take on the Chiefs on Sunday afternoon at Arrowhead Stadium. And is it just because it's early in the season? Is it because the Bengals have their own issues to deal with that has made this feel a bit less like a heavyweight fight than it has felt the last few years when these two teams have met? Or are you able to maybe take the temperature a little bit of the Chiefs, and maybe it doesn't feel that way at all in that locker room? Maybe they're still as up for this one as they've been for any other matchup with this team in the recent years.
Yeah, I really don't think that the temperature is any different in the Chiefs, and probably I would imagine the same thing's true in the Bengals locker room than it has been in the past. I think that they're both afraid of what the other can do and respectful of that. The Bengals might talk a little bit more than the Chiefs do, and the Chiefs have slipped up on occasion and talked a little bit in their matchup too. But I haven't really sensed any of, obviously, the trash talking, anything of that from the Chiefs side this week. And it might seem a little bit quieter on the Cincinnati side because, like you said, they've got their own problems to worry about, much less worrying about the Chiefs. But I think there's still a lot of respect between these two teams. I think that the Chiefs still see this as a team that they've got to be concerned about, even with the turnover in lineup. They're still worried about Lou Anarumo's defense. I think the concern is still there, but there's no doubt. I mean, they're hearing the exact same things that we're all talking about, that the Bengals didn't look very good in week one. They could see the film. They've heard the stories about how just bad the Bengals have been in the last few years. And that's where I think that at least it doesn't feel like a big, heavyweight matchup to me, because it's week two. Week one, you understood it. It was the Ravens. It was a rematch of the AFC Championship game. Chiefs-Bengals last few years, it's supposed to be in December. It's supposed to be late in the season when there's a lot more on the line. And right now, it just doesn't feel like that there's anything on the line that much. It's certainly the Bengals need a win because they don't want to be 0-2. But again, they've been 0-2 and made the playoffs before, so nothing unusual for them. And the Chiefs got their win that they needed, so they're not in danger of going 0-2. It just doesn't feel like to me that there's as much on the line as maybe there normally is and as much as we expected.
Matt Derrick is joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. He covers the Kansas City Chiefs for ChiefsDigest.com, and he joins us every Friday at this time for our Chiefs Insider. Make sure you check out his work at Chiefs Digest and follow him on Twitter at Matt Derrick. Matt, you mentioned Cincinnati's Lou Anarumo and his defense. Here's my question about that unit, though. Who's going to tackle Isaiah Pacheco?
Well, I think like in week one, they just pretty much waited until the running backs or the quarterbacks or whoever had the ball just got tired and went down or out of bounds or got in the end zone. I don't know if anybody's tackling anybody in the running game for Cincinnati. And, and that goes back to, I think, a couple of things. One, obviously, they've lost some names from the last few years, guys like Jesse Bates. The Bengals, hey, they're notorious for being cheap. They're kind of living up to that expectation now with the contracts for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So, they paid Joe Burrow, but they don't seem to be interested in paying anybody else, and they didn't pay anybody on defense. So, looking back at their Super Bowl team from a few years ago, a couple of the biggest names are gone, but even the guys who are still there, they're 29, 30 years old now. They're not, 25, 26, 27. So this is kind of to me, it's an older, slower defense. And my partner in crime over on the 41 is the Mike podcast, Nick Jacobs, had a great line, which is that, Lou Anarumo loves to use the simulated pressures. But you know what? If you can't get actual pressure, what danger is simulated pressure? It's not going to frighten anybody if you can't actually get to the quarterback every once in a while.
The Chiefs defense, to flip to the other side of the ball, we were talking about this a little earlier on. Do you think Trent McDuffie is the best tackling corner in the NFL? Matt, can you hear us?
Oh, I can. Yeah, sorry about that. You cut out for a second.
Oh, well, I'm glad we're back. I was just asking, big picture, Trent McDuffie, is he the best tackling corner in the NFL?
Really good question, because I think that the other best one is L'Jarius Sneed, and I think it's a battle between the two of them. But I might actually give it to McDuffie. L'Jarius is just, I think, as tough and nasty as McDuffie is. But I just always think about McDuffie. I just think about those square up tackles and form tackles that he makes, and how many forced fumbles that he seems to generate. I think he's going to have a point there. McDuffie might actually be the best tackler, but if he is, then I think LJ is number two.
And I ask that because in a game like this, where we don't know how healthy Joe Burrow is, and I mean, he doesn't look especially healthy, their offense was neutered, to say the least, in week 1 in their loss to the Patriots. If I'm the Chiefs and I don't think that they can beat me over the top, I wouldn't respect that passing game all that much. And I'm not trying to be too over the top with this sort of analysis here, Matt, but I feel like if I've got a corner like Trent McDuffie, I'm playing him close to the line of scrimmage constantly, because if they're going to throw all this stuff in the flat and try to run the ball a little bit more, I want McDuffie getting downhill and attacking as much as possible.
Yeah, I think you make a great point there. And it does make me wonder, what will Steve Spagnuolo's game plan be? Because, sometimes you go into a matchup, and let's go back to Lamar Jackson. I mean, the philosophy of Steve Spagnuolo had always been just, put the game into the hands of Lamar Jackson in the pocket. Let him beat you with his arm. Just don't let him beat you with his legs. Don't let him escape. Just keep him contained in the pocket and force him to throw the ball to beat you. And, the Chiefs struggled with that a little bit last week, and that's why I think they almost lost. Against Joe Burrow, typically you would say, don't let him beat you with his arm. I mean, you got to make him uncomfortable. In this case, I think there's going to be some teams, especially after watching week 1, they're going to say, you know what, if Joe Burrow can throw the ball more than 20 yards downfield, good for him. We haven't seen it yet, so we're just not going to give him the easy stuff. We're going to go after him because he does like to get rid of the football quickly. He has to with that offensive line. But then just make sure that he can't get anything underneath. There's nothing short, no quick outs, nothing like that, because I haven't seen, and that's the word out of Cincinnati, is that even going back to training camp, Joe Burrow can't push the ball downfield. So, whether it's the physical problem or a mental aspect of that hand, he is not comfortable with it. So anything I think you can do to just hammer away at that confidence, whatever confidence he has, I think you're right. I think that's how you can beat Joe Burrow.
And kind of to piggyback off that, Matt, Steve Spagnuolo spoke earlier in the week, and he said he doesn't buy that he's not healthy. Do you think that that's just Spagnuolo speaking, and do you think that this actually changes the game plan for them this week compared to if you had a normal Burrow that could throw deep downfield?
I got to think that's just normal coach speak. It's probably 2 purposes. I mean, one, he doesn't want to give Joe Burrow, the Bengals, any bulletin board material. So, just bolster him up as much as you can. Say, hey, same old Joe Burrow from what I see. But I think you also want to send that message to your team, because I don't think he wants to say to his team, look, Joe Burrow is a wounded animal. You don't have to worry about him. We can take it easy this week. No, I think he wants to make sure that they're on edge and that they're still worried about him. But and maybe this is the week. Maybe Joe Burrow needed a week to kind of just make sure that he could get through a game and know that he could. Maybe there'll be a point where he just breaks through. But, that's the thing with ligaments of any nature, whether it's in your hand, your knees, or somewhere else. Those repairs, they take longer than just the physical rehab, to feel full strength. We talked with Tershawn Wharton again, this week, and he talked about his ACL, and he admitted he had no power. He had none of his usual strength in the first year back. Now, second year back from that injury, he feels so much different. I mean, he's like, the power that he used to have, he feels like is back, and maybe then some. And that's why I think the same thing with Joe Burrow. I mean, this just might be a lost season for him until he gets that strength back and gets the confidence back in his hands.
Couple more questions for our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, what are you most confident the Chiefs will be better at in week 2 than they were in week 1? Whether that's because of an extra week and a half to rep it, because of the opponent maybe being different in a way that the Ravens were. What do you think they'll be better at on Sunday than they were in week 1?
Well, I think the one way that they definitely want to be better is just against the big plays. They gave up a few too many of those against the Ravens, especially in the second half. And talking to Nick Bolton today, I had asked him just about what did they work on this week? What was the main thing to clean up from the Ravens game? And he said their eyes. And that to me is telling me that they're working a lot this week on tackling. They're working on trying to keep plays in front of them, watch out for the speed. Don't let guys get behind you. And continuing to guard. I mean, that was a couple of the plays last week, and Steve Spagnuolo mentioned it too, that had a couple of plays that just got extended. They didn't get to the quarterback, and quarterback buy some time and find somebody. You can't let that happen. So I think it's obviously that's a message for the front. The front four needs to play more disciplined than they did last week. But a big part of it is just, keeping your eyes. It's about making sure you don't lose your man. You don't let some guys get wide open. When you get a chance to get a guy on the ground, you get the tackle done. You don't let anybody's speed or strength surprise you.
And lastly, we got about 30 seconds here, Matt. On a scale from 1 to Joe Namath before Super Bowl III, how confident are you that the Chiefs can go to 2-0 with a win at Arrowhead on Sunday?
Oh, wow. Not quite Joe Namath level, but I'm pretty optimistic. I've got this game as 27-13, and if I'm off, then I think it's probably more like 38-13. I think this one comfortably, and it could be a blowout if the same Joe Burrow and the Bengals showed up last week.
There's something nagging at me, Matt, that says the same thing. Like this could be when you take into account the early season struggles that the Bengals have had, how good the Chiefs looked in week 1 relative to the competition. Something nagging at me telling me this one could be a blowout too. So you're not alone with that in your gut.
Not alone, and I get that the Bengals usually play these early games close but still lose, but I just think this is a bad matchup for them.
Matt Derrick will have coverage of it on ChiefsDigest.com. He joins us every Friday for our Chiefs Insider segment on the Fleming Place Wine Spirits Hotline. Matt, enjoy the game Sunday. We'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate it, guys. Take care.
That is Matt Derrick. We'll come back with a round of Change My Mind before we wrap up this first hour of 580 Sports Talk. All right, guys, quick change my mind to wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk. Change my mind. Tua Tagovailoa should retire from football.
I am not comfortable saying that about another grown adult. I completely understand why that is the reaction, but I don't, and this isn't even directly answering your point, and I recognize that, Dan, but like, I would not want someone to tell me that, like, wow, I had 6 bad shows in a row and I lost my voice. Like, oh, you should hang it up. Like, I can't do it.
No.
I know that's not apples to apples, but I am not comfortable saying that to someone.
I am a bit uncomfortable, too, with the idea that we all, like, everybody in the media is saying, hey, Tua, you should retire. He suffered his 4th career concussion last night, and Miami's lost to Buffalo on Thursday Night Football. That's where that is coming from. I'm uncomfortable with that, too, but at the same time, man, 4 concussions, and they're getting progressively worse.
Yeah, I will say, I think it is very impactful what Mike McDaniel said after the game last night, where he straight was like, hey, you're the quarterback of your family.
Yeah,
like,
there's more.
That's a lot different than they've talked about with him before.
Yeah, I mean, you guys said it best. I mean, we can't tell somebody what to do with their life. I think that he needs to take what all the doctors are saying into consideration and make whatever is the best decision for him, and will keep him in to have a better future.
Yeah,
after football,
he's going to have to make an adult decision one way or another. No question about that. Hey, we got a jam-packed final hour of the show today. We're off at 5 for Royals baseball. We got our Prairie Band Sportsbook Sports Talk picks. What is wrong with you? Max Rieper of Royals review. And I've got 2 more tickets for K-State, Arizona tonight. If you can make it to Manhattan for kickoff, give me a call right now. I'll take caller number 3, 785-272-9429. 785-272-9429. We'll text you 2 tickets to go see K-State in Arizona tonight. Hour number 2, final hour of the day, coming up next. Let's get it. Hour number 2 and the final hour of this shortened edition of 580 Sports Talk on this Friday afternoon. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, and Spencer Dupuis kicking it with you for one more hour before we make way for Royals baseball. 15 games to go in the regular season. The Royals will play the next 3 of those in Pittsburgh at beautiful, scenic PNC Park against the Pirates. First pitch tonight is scheduled for 5:40, which means we'll give way for pregame coverage from the Royals Radio Network right at 5 o'clock. So we are donezo early tonight. Pitching matchup, by the way, Alec Marsh for Kansas City, Luis Ortiz for the Pirates, one of their good young arms for that club who has fallen out of contention in the National League Central.
We have a Michael Lorenzen rehab update.
Yeah, he's starting tonight, I think.
AAA.
Yeah, going to start tonight for AAA Omaha, and that should put him in position to
return next week.
Yeah, come back and take Alec Marsh's spot in the rotation. Not a coincidence. He's starting the same night Alec Marsh is starting.
Right now, today, I know we have to get to plenty. Right now, today, what's your postseason rotation looking like?
For the best of 3 wild card series, it would be.
Give me for a best of 7. I think best of 3 is pretty easy. At this point, personally.
Okay, so for a best of 7, I want Lugo game 1 because I think he can give me length.
Okay.
It's about length in game 1. I want that.
All right.
And I like Reagan's game 2 because then I'm going to come back with him for a possible game 7. And then for game 3 and 4 and games 3 and 4, I'm mixing and matching. Depends on the opponent.
Okay.
If they're real lefty heavy. I might even skip Singer if they're real lefty heavy up front, depending on who the opponent is.
I agree.
And I go with Waka game 3 and Lorenzen game 4. I'm back with Lugo game 5. Whoever doesn't start 4 or 5, I'm starting game 6, and I've got fresh Reagans for game 7.
If you're down 3,
and if I'm down 3-2,
game 6, you go Reagans.
I can come back with Reagans for game 6. Yeah.
I'm going Waka game 3, thinking he's doing what he's been doing lately, and that's 7 strong.
Yeah. And then you bounce back and say, hey, you trust the body of work, and you go with him game 7.
Yeah,
that's very possible. Yeah, you can go 4-man. You can start all 5 guys.
This is what I'm talking about, man. Like, these are good matchups. These are good problems to have.
Yes, they are.
The only legitimately bad problem is Brady Singer can't face lefties. Like, that's the only actual negative in that group.
You don't want him facing a lineup full of left-handers. That's a bit problematic.
Like, if Lorenzen's your 5th, man, that's a good group.
Especially if he comes back in the same rhythm that he was in before he got hurt.
Right.
No doubt about that. So we'll talk some more Royals baseball later on this hour. Max Rieper of Royals Review, the editor-in-chief of RoyalsReview.com, is going to join us at the bottom of this hour. We'll talk a little baseball. We've also got plenty of football still to get to here this hour, including our 580 Sports Talk Picks Contest presented by Prairie Band Sportsbook, and we'll fly through previews of KU UNLV and K-State Arizona tonight. A 6 o'clock kick at Children's Mercy Park between the Rebels and the Jayhawks, and a 7 o'clock kick tonight between the Wildcats and the Wildcats. It's literally the Simpsons gag. Who are we? Wildcats. Who are we going to beat? The Wildcats. Literally from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Art imitating life.
Hashtag Simpsons did it first.
Pre-game at 5 o'clock, kickoff at 7 on our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country. If you want to hear Wyatt and Stan tonight, 94.5 FM, WIVW FM will be the place to hear K-State football with pregame coverage again starting at 5 o'clock before the kickoff at 7. And we're going to crown a weekly What Is Wrong With You champion. We'll do that this hour as well. You can hit us up on the Tub City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. You can also leave us a comment in the YouTube live stream. Watching us on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk is the channel, WIBW News on Facebook. We'll start with the 580 Sports Talk Picks Contest. It is presented by our friends at Prairie Band Sportsbook, where you can bet your way. And what better place to watch the football action tonight? I mean, you go to the Prairie Band Sportsbook tonight, they're going to have KU and K-State.
Yeah, it's going to be
sick.
sick.
And the Royals.
Yeah, it's going to be sick.
Yeah.
Especially notable because, as listener Tyler in the YouTube comments said earlier on, still can't watch the ESPN networks if you have DirecTV.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Come on.
Isn't it ridiculous? Yep. DirecTV and Disney are at a bit of an impasse right now. So if you are a DirecTV subscriber, you can't watch ESPN.
Did you see they tried to make they tried to get everything going to get the debate on which is part of the reason why ABC News was simulcast their debate on the Fox and everything else. And they wanted it to be able to get college football action this weekend so they could have a little bit of time. And Disney was like, no.
Here is what it comes down to. They do not care about you. Who's they? All of them.
Yes.
If they have that sort of power that they can just say, nope, we disagree. They do not care about you. Do not think that your cable company, do not think that anyone cares about you. You know who does care about you, though? Prairie Band. They're going to have all those games on. They're going to have a bunch of food, a bunch of beer, and a bunch of gambling.
Damn straight. Go up to Prairie Band Sportsbook tonight. You can watch KU. You can watch K-State. You can watch the Royals. You can watch anything else that's going on. Be a great place to spend a college football Saturday or an NFL Sunday as well at Prairie Band Sportsbook in Mayetta. For our 580 Sports Talk Picks contest, we use the lines available by Prairie Band, and all of these lines are correct as of earlier today as we go through our picks. After 2 weeks, Brendan in first place, the only one of us making any money, 5-3 on the year. Spencer struggled to 1-4 last week, 3-5 overall. I am 2-5-1. Tough push for your boy last week in Seattle, Denver. That was heart-wrenching. Anyhow.
Too early in the year for me to brag.
Yes.
But if I have another good week, I will be bragging.
Too early in the year for me to panic. So we will let the last be first. And right now that's me. So I'm going to give my 5 picks first.
Spencer, can I also get audio on my computer briefly for Dan's first pick here?
We're going to start, again, the rules. 2 college football games against the spread, 2 NFL games against the spread, and a wild card pick that can be anything, a total, a player prop, college
another spread.
Another spread if you want it to be. I'll start with my college football picks. Hawaii +4 at Sam Houston State.
And if you remember from yesterday's show when we talked to Paul Meyerberg, this is our dumpster juice game of the week. That's Dan diving into the dumpster juice for the grossest game we could find on the schedule. This is disgusting.
I hate so much that there's sound now for the dumpster juice.
Listen to him sift around in the garbage in the dumpster for that pick.
Oh, I hate you making that a thing, Brendan. Oh, my God. Awful.
I'm going to bookmark this sound.
Anyway, this is a pure numbers play. All of the metrics suggest that Hawaii should win this game outright at Sam Houston State, so I'll take more than a field goal through the key number. Hawaii +4 at Sam Houston State. Coastal Carolina laying 18 against Temple. There are Division II teams that might be touchdown or better favorites against the Temple Owls. They are truly wretched. And CCU, Coastal Carolina, can run the rock, and Temple can't do anything about it. So I got Coastal Carolina.
Central Carolina?
The dumpster juice has really thrown me off. Coastal Carolina laying 18 at Temple. My NFL picks this week. Houston -6.5 against Chicago. This is my lock of the week.
Whoa!
I was not convinced by Chicago in week 1. I was much more convinced by Houston. I don't think Houston's going to give Chicago the ball a bunch. And so Chicago's going to find a way to score because they didn't score an offensive touchdown last week.
More confident in that one than in the Hawaii game.
Yes.
Okay.
More confident in Houston laying 6.5. And I've got Indianapolis laying 2.5 at Green Bay. The Colts laying 2.5. It's a very simple equation here. Malik Willis sucks. And I don't think they're going to score a lot of points. I think Malik Willis is really bad. That line has moved to 3 at Prairie Band.
Okay.
I'd still take it.
I don't blame you at all. That's
not that he's going to play, but Jordan Love is officially questionable.
Yeah, they did not rule him out. I think that's gamesmanship for what it's worth.
Yeah.
I assume Sean Clifford will be elevated from the practice squad. The only hang-up I would have with that, me as a Packer fan, the only hang-up I would have is why in the world is it only a field goal? Why in the world is it not bigger? Because you're right, Malik Willis is bad.
Well,
straight up bad.
If you figure that home field is worth 3 points, then you're making Indianapolis essentially a touchdown favorite.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah. I don't know if Lambeau Field in September is worth 3 extra points. So
Probably not.
I'll go Indianapolis laying 2.5 for the benefit of the picks contest. My wild card pick, I'm going over in the Civil War between Oregon and Oregon State. The total is 49.5. I think this is a pissed off Oregon team that might get there on their own, but I do think this will be a much higher scoring game than that number. I like that one to be in the 50s with ease. So the over in the Civil War between Oregon and Oregon State. Spencer, since you're second place, you get to go second.
Yes, I did not pick this team last week, so I feel good picking this team. I did not pick KU. The line has moved. They are now favored by 9.5 tonight against UNLV. I think they're just going to pound the rock with Devin Neal. and it's going to be an easy win.
From your lips to God's ears, please.
I have North Texas underdogs by 10 against Texas Tech.
Ooh, spicy. I love it.
Yes, it's a little spicy pick.
I like it, though. Tech has looked terrible.
Yeah. To the NFL, I have the Chargers. They're favored by 5 against Carolina. Bryce Young, what have you done? That's it.
Yeah,
right
Carolina
there.
looks like a train wreck.
Yeah. Also, I have Dallas favored by 6 against New Orleans. I just think Dallas has more firepower than New Orleans.
That's a good number. At a lot of like the national books, that's sitting at 6.5 right now. You can still get it at 6 at Prairie Band, and I would jump on that and not mess around with the hook. New Orleans is starting backup tackles against Micah Parsons.
There you go. That's another reason right there. And my wild card comes from the NFL, which is also my lock of the week. I have the Commanders and Giants staying under 43. There's no hook there. It's under 43. I believe I sent to you in the message that's going on the website that it's going to be a very sloppy game. Jaden Daniels doesn't have an offensive line, so he's running around left and right, even though Dan Quinn doesn't want that. And Daniel Jones got booed. People stayed until he left the game and booed him on the way out to his car.
The least he deserved.
Yeah.
All right, my picks for this week from first place. Just a reminder, I am in first place currently at 5-3. That's 2 games better than Spencer and 2.5 better than Dan, for the record. All right, college games. Alabama, 16-point favorite on the road at Camp Randall against Wisconsin, and I'm taking all 16 of those points. Wisconsin has never won in the last 35 years as a double-digit underdog. 0-11. They have no identity. They are a miserable watch. Air raid teams should not be that unpleasant, but they are really, really unpleasant.
You can hear
I've got Bama.
You can hear that game tomorrow right here on 580 WIBW on the Compass Media Networks. 10:30 pregame, 11 o'clock kick from Camp Randall.
That's what we call corporate synergy. Just kidding. Total coincidence. You went with the Civil War. I am going with the Apple Cup, and I've got the underdog, Washington State, 5-point underdog in Seattle, but not actually at Husky Stadium. But I've got Washington State as a 5-point underdog against the Huskies. Washington State's playing really well. UW has had a lot of changes, and I like this Washington State defense. Jake Dickert knows what he's doing. I think it'll be fairly low scoring. I like the underdogs to keep it close. From the NFL, Spencer, I am with you. Chargers, 5-point favorite over Carolina. Here is a worrisome stat for you. This is from @Stucky2 on Twitter. He works for the Action Network. Tweeted this on Wednesday. Tried and true NFL buy low spot. Dogs of more than 4 points. So that's Carolina. Off a 35 or more point loss have gone in the last 20 years 48-18 against the spread. 48-18 in 66 games. There's one match for that this week. It is Carolina. I cannot do it. I am going to buck the trend. No way in hell would I pick Carolina in that spot. Give me the Chargers. That is my lock of the week. Also from the NFL, Tennessee, 4-point favorite at home against the Jets. I don't think Tennessee is very good. Aaron Rodgers can't move. And that offense looked yucky for most of that game against San Francisco. Tennessee doesn't have a great defense, but they're at home as a dog. I will take the Titans. My wild card, I'm also going with that Indianapolis-Green Bay game, but I've got the total in that one. Under 40.5. I think that's either because both teams don't score much or Indianapolis wins by plenty and Green Bay can't score with Malik Willis.
I just have no confidence in that offense with Malik Willis.
I don't either.
I've seen what that looks like, and I don't think it's all of a sudden going to look great in a new uniform. I mean, there might be like Matt LaFleur, better offensive coach than what he left in Tennessee, sure, but like I think I've seen enough of Malik Willis's movies. All right, those are our picks. You can read all about them on our website, 580WIBW.com. Also, we have our Survivor pool, and you two jokers are on your mulligans already. After Cincinnati lost to New England last week, I took the Bills. They won, so I am still surviving without needing to use my mulligan. This week in the Survivor pool, I'm taking the Texans to beat the Bears.
I'm going with the Chargers. I'm going to try for the layup here. I thought I had a layup last week. I did not. Let's try it again.
Yeah, I'm very not happy with the Bengals because I, in fact, am out of my survival pool that I actually pay money into after week one.
No.
Because I thought it would be clear they would beat the Patriots, who are rebuilding. That didn't happen this week. I am picking the Ravens off a loss to the Chiefs. They take on the Raiders. The Raiders are not very good this year.
Good bounce back spot.
Not very good, and Antonio Pierce appears to be a lousy in-game coach.
I can't believe it.
Terrible in-game decisions against the Chargers last week. He might be bad at this. All right, those are our picks. That's our survivor pool. Let's get into the college football tonight across the Sunflower State. 2 big games. Opportunity for KU to bounce back. We'll start with the Jayhawks hosting UNLV tonight at Children's Mercy Park. That game kicks off at 6 o'clock. 9.5 points is the spread in favor of the Jayhawks. That has moved. It opened at 7, so it's moved heavily in KU's favor. The total, 57.5. Let's give one key to the game, and Brendan, we'll start with you.
Attack vertically, because all you need to do is go back to the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. Jason Bean, what was he great at? Get outside the pocket and throw that thing down the field. You've got the same 3 top receivers from that game, all of whom are good at getting the ball downfield. Lawrence Arnold, who we talked to this week, Luke Grimm, Quentin Skinner, all good vertical threats. Let JD use his arm. You're pretty much going up against the same defense under Barry Odom. Attack vertically in the passing game will be fine.
My key to the Jayhawks Rebels game tonight is KU's got to limit the splash plays. They gave up a few splash plays in the passing game last week, which is a surprise given the strength of KU's secondary. UNLV's got a superstar at wide receiver in Ricky White III. They have got to keep him in check, keep him from making the sort of field-flipping splash plays that can help UNLV score enough to keep up with the Jayhawks at home. Spencer, key to the game tonight for KU.
Yeah, I believe Brendan was on this early in the week after the way last game for KU ended against Illinois. Give the rock to Devin Neal, get him his touches, continue to give him his touches, and that should be a good way for them to get the win.
Spencer's laying the points. Are you, Brendan?
Sure.
Yeah, KU should be able to win this one by at least 10. I don't think this is as good a UNLV team as last year. I know they beat up Houston, but they're not like their quarterback's nice, but he's not as good as Jordan Maivia was last year. And I don't think they're as good defensively. I think KU should be able to bully them. I think they will. I think that's how they'll respond to the Illinois loss. They will be a lot more physical in the trenches. They'll establish that run, and Devin Neal will do big things tonight. K-State against Arizona. Battle of the Wildcats in a non-conference game at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. This line has moved around a lot this week too, kind of fluctuating between 6 and 7.5 right now at Prairie Band Sportsbook. K-State is a touchdown favorite. The total is 61. My biggest key to this game, let Avery be Avery. Put the throttle down on offense and let Avery Johnson do the things that make him special. Get him out of the pocket and throwing on the run and get him running, period. Because I think if he is a threat on the ground and DJ Giddens and Dylan Edwards do their thing, I don't think Arizona's going to have an answer. I think they're going to have trouble getting their explosive offense on the field because Kansas State should be able to control the line of scrimmage and control the time of possession. Let Avery be Avery and put the throttle down on offense, and K-State should win this game.
Yeah, for me, for K-State offensively, and it ties in with what you just said there, Dan, follow the approach that Arizona takes. Teteroa McMillan is their only wide receiver, not player, but wide receiver with more than 4 catches through 2 weeks. He's got 12. They get him the ball a ton. They just want to load him up on targets, and they should because he might be the best wide receiver in the country. If you're K-State, do the same thing. Let Avery Johnson make plays. Give the ball a bunch to DJ Giddens. Give the ball a bunch to Dylan Edwards. Lean into your playmakers. I don't know that Arizona State has the horses to keep up with all of those guys. I don't know that I'm laying 7 in this game. I also don't know that I necessarily love the over in this game. I'm kind of feeling under. I do like K-State to win outright, though.
Spencer, key to the game tonight for K-State.
Yes, I think it goes back to what they lacked last week against Tulane, which, although it did save them in the end with the interception, secondary play, it needs to improve a lot more from where it was last week. And if the secondary can cut down on, miss coverages, giving up big plays, then it should be an easy win.
I don't love the number. I'd stay away from a spread bet tonight because I think Arizona is certainly capable of keeping this close. I kind of like the over, though. I think this could be a points fest. I think this could be like a 38-28 kind of football game, 38-35 kind of football game. I think both offenses are really, really good, and both defenses are kind of still searching, and typically that leads to high-scoring games. But I do think the Wildcats win. Kansas State Wildcats.
Yes.
Naturally.
Thank you.
We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. On the other side, we will crown a weekly champion on What Is Wrong With You, and Max Rieper of Royals Review will join us at the bottom of the hour. That's coming up from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio here on 580 Sports Talk. Time for What Is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk. We will crown a weekly champion today. Our current champion, yesterday's winner. You can't repo my car if I blow it up. A guy in Harrison Township, Missouri, who created a bomb hoax in order to prevent his car from being repossessed. He had rigged up a fake car bomb that included a propane tank sitting in the passenger seat of his vehicle and a whole bunch of like copper wires and stuff.
Just sitting there.
Just
not connected to anything.
No, not connected to a thing. And then posting a bunch of signs on the car saying, this car will blow up if you touch it.
If you touch it. The paint job is rigged.
The 45-year-old suspect was arrested.
Yeah, if you were 16 and like really into video games, I could see thinking this was smart.
It does add another an element of humor to the story. The old enough to know better axiom coming into play there. We have two stories today that are ostensibly sports related. One of them is directly sports related. The other involves a sports venue. Spencer, would you like to share yours?
Yes, I saw this circulating on social media last night. For a second, I thought it was fake, but a suspect in a hit-and-run crash was arrested Thursday night after driving his truck onto the playing field at Colorado's Folsom Field. Police in Boulder said they received a call reporting multiple hit-and-run crashes involving the same blue pickup truck near Fort Hills Parkway and Apropos Avenue. About 1.5 miles away from the Arapahoe Avenue. About 1.5 miles away from the stadium, the driver of the truck struck several trees and a car as he fled and nearly struck a witness at the scene. Both Boulder police and University police tried to stop the driver before he rammed into a gate to Folsom Field, stopping the truck near the 40-yard line alongside the visitor sideline. After negotiating with the police, the driver got out of the truck and surrendered. Boulder police identified the suspect as Earl E. Hogland, 48, from Massachusetts. He will be booked into Boulder County Jail on several charges, including 3 counts of leaving the scene of a crash after damage, criminal attempt of vehicular assault, reckless endangerment, driving without insurance, and trespassing. No one on campus was injured during the incident. And lucky for Colorado, they are on the road at Colorado State tomorrow before they return next week to take on Baylor. So there's a week before the field maintenance staff can make sure everything's good to go.
There was a little bit of damage done, thankfully not too much. It's also one of the more successful drives on the ground we've seen at Folsom Field for many years.
Yeah, I was going to say, once again, Colorado can't stop someone from driving all over their field. I am the 9 millionth person to make that joke.
Did the police request that they play Shedeur Sanders' rap song after they completed the arrest? Before they played Glory, Glory, Colorado.
What's Dion going to be doing this time next year?
You mean other than Aflac commercials?
Yes.
Talking on some podcast somewhere.
Head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
No, that's going to be Bill Belichick.
Either one of those
Jerry's
outcomes.
doing great.
Yeah, either one of those outcomes is really, really funny. Anyway, my story also comes to us from the sports world. You know, or somebody who doesn't like their job, just ready for their day to be over at work, just looking up the clock.
Is nuts.
Yes.
Yeah,
looking up the clock, saying, "Man, I'm ready to go home. I'm killing the clock. I'm running out the clock on my day." What if you were running out the clock on your year at work? What if you were a professional baseball player and you just wanted to be done with the season? That was the case for former Minnesota Twins minor leaguer Derrick Bender, who was released by the club on Thursday after he told opposing hitters the types of pitches that were coming to the plate during at-bats in the game that eliminated his team from playoff contention. Bender was in his first season as a professional. He was a 6th-round draft pick out of Coastal Carolina in July, and he was playing for the Fort Myers Mighty Muscles, the Twins single-A affiliate. In the second game of a September 6th doubleheader, Bender pulled a Crash Davis. He told multiple hitters for the Lakeland Flying Tigers, a Detroit farm team, the specific pitches being thrown by starter Ross Dunn. Fastball. And when you speak of me, speak well. It's funny when Kevin Costner does it, but when this guy does it, he loses his job. Lakeland scored 4 runs off of Dunn in the second inning and won the game 6-0 to eliminate Fort Myers from playoff contention. Fort Myers coaches were notified by Lakeland coaches about the pitch tipping after the game. Bender's willingness to tip pitches surprised Lakeland players, and there were no indications of wrongdoing from the Flying Tigers. Sources indicated to ESPN that Bender had told teammates he wanted the season to be over. Like that, I think you should leave, Sketch. I don't want to be around anymore.
Why not just quit?
There's too much stuff on me. I don't want to be around anymore.
Why not just retire?
Well,
this is clearly not for you, brother.
Well, it looks like that is what is going to happen. And by being released, he gets to keep the entirety of his $297,500 signing bonus that he got for being the 188th overall pick this season. In 19 games, Bender hit 200 with 2 home runs and 8 RBI.
I vote for this story today, for what it's worth.
Yeah, this is wild.
I saw this last night. I could not believe this. Dude, just quit. Just tell your coach you don't want to play anymore.
Yeah, this ends for me. This pro baseball stuff is for the birds. But I think if you retire, you forfeit the signing bonus.
Yeah.
I am having a mental health crisis. My mental health is telling me I don't want to play baseball anymore. Like, take a leave, dude. You can make this happen. Absurd. Truly absurd. This gets my vote for today.
Yeah, it gets my vote for today. It's puts up a strong fight against the guy who pretended he was going to blow up his car. But you can hear in my voice, he's going to blow up his car.
Yeah.
He pretended to blow up his car.
And like we said, Spencer, you weren't here for the show yesterday, but my point still stands when the story came up yesterday. One way or the other, you do not get to keep your car.
Yeah.
The whole point was he didn't want it to get repoed, so he put together this fake bomb rig.
Yeah,
but here's the thing. The bomb squad's going to take it. You don't get it back anyway.
The repo men don't quit trying to take your stuff. If at first you don't succeed, they don't quit. They try again. They're going to get your stuff.
Yeah, something else is getting repoed, man.
Very stupid. So that guy, you can't repo my car if I blow it up. That's our weekly champion on What Is Wrong With You. Max Rieper of Royals Review joins us next. 580 Sports Talk continues on this Friday afternoon. Shortened show. We're rounding third and heading for home already. We're giving way to the Royals Baseball Network at 5 o'clock. Pre-game coverage of Royals baseball. First pitch at 5:40 tonight. First of three between the Royals and the Pirates in Pittsburgh. And here to talk some Royals baseball with us, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline is Max Rieper, editor-in-chief of Royals Review. Max, if you could go back to mid-March right now and tell mid-March Max that the Royals are on the verge of a playoff appearance in 2024, what do you think mid-March Max would have to say about that?
And I like to ask him what he's smoking. How do you explain to someone that before the year that a team coming off 106 losses would be in the postseason push with 2 weeks to go, and really not just in the postseason push, but they're firmly in position for a wild card spot? It would take a pretty good collapse at this point for the Royals not to make it. And I think we all thought this team was better. I mean, certainly the starting pitching seemed improved with the investments they made in the offseason. But to see the team come this far, this fast, I think exceeds even the wildest expectations of the most optimistic Royals fans. So I'll take it. I mean, that's part of why we love sports, right? Occasionally we get pleasantly surprised like this, where our team exceeds expectations and gives us a pretty wild ride. And, this might be just the beginning. It's nice to get in the dance, but this is a team that could make some noise. I think if they do actually get in the postseason, you're not going to want to face this team in a short series with Reagan and Lugo and then, either Michael Waka or Brady Singer. That's pretty formidable. And, this team, they've made some noise before when they're underdogs. I wouldn't put it past them to do it again.
Over the last 20 games, a segment of the schedule that many referred to, including us here on the show, as the Gauntlet, where the Royals played nothing but first-place teams except for Minnesota, who, when the segment of the schedule began, was actually ahead of the Royals in the AL Central standings. They came through it with a 9-11 record, endured the injury to Vinny Pasquantino and a 7-game losing streak in the middle of it, but came out of it with a really solid homestand, 4-2 against Cleveland and Minnesota. As you look at this team, did the last 20 games make you feel better about their chances in October, or did it leave you with some more questions about what this team might look like in the postseason?
I think you have to feel really good about how they played the last couple of weeks, especially against these really good teams that they're going to face in the playoffs. And, you look back and they went 9-11. That's with a 7-game losing streak in the middle of there. And it doesn't feel like they played like super great. But that's kind of the point. When you play these good teams, you're not going to win 2/3 of the games. You're going to have to hold your own and hope to not, have a sustained losing streak. And they had a losing streak and still were able to kind of keep their record, maintain their record over the last couple of weeks. So you feel like they could take a knockout or take a punch a little bit, but not get knocked out. And I think that has to give them a little bit of confidence going into the postseason of like, hey, we can play with these teams. I mean, even the Yankee series where you lose the series in New York, but they were a run away from taking that series on the road in New York, an intimidating place to play, a team they may play in the playoffs. So I feel like, they didn't have a winning record, but I feel like they kind of held their own. And I think that can give them, for a young team that maybe had some insecurities and felt they were a little, they didn't belong, or maybe they couldn't play these good teams. I think that has to give them a little bit of confidence that they can play with these teams. And I think adding guys like Tommy Pham, Yuli Gurriel, who have been there before, have had postseason success, and can reassure these guys, kind of play the role that Raul Ibanez did in 2014 and remind them, hey, you guys are pretty good. You've gotten this far. You've won these games, and you went toe-to-toe with these tough teams, and it didn't, you maybe didn't take the series, but in October – little things matter, and the ball can bounce your way just like that. So, keep your chin up, play your hardest, and we'll see what happens in the postseason.
Max Rieper is our guest, editor-in-chief of Royals Review at SB Nation, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline on this Friday afternoon, talking all things Royals baseball. Max, I understand why some Royals fans might not want to jump the gun and put the Royals in the postseason already, but I am willing to do that. I think the Royals, without question, are going to make it into the postseason. So, operating under that assumption, do the Royals have the best starting pitching staff of any team in the American League playoffs?
I think you have to I think they have to be the favorite on that, right? I mean, they've got the second best
starting pitching ERA in baseball, behind only Seattle, who is kind of on the outside looking in and may not make the playoffs. But just looking at Lugo and Reagans, who are two of the top 5 or 6 pitchers in the league and should get votes for the Cy Young. I'd put those 1-2 against anyone in baseball. And then to actually add a third guy, and it's not, what a nice problem to have. Should we start Michael Wacha in the playoffs, or should we start Brady Singer as the third starter? Because both of them have been, fantastic if you look at the totality of what they've done over the year. Now, I think Wacha's pitched better in the second half. I think there's questions about, Singer when he battles, when he takes on adversity. And also he might be a better weapon out of the bullpen where he can, be a right-handed, righty killer against certain matchups. But that's a nice problem to have, and to have 3-4 guys who could conceivably start in a starting rotation. That's really a luxury for Matt Quatraro. And you look at some of the other teams in the playoffs. I mean, the Yankees, for all that they spend on players, their rotation's a little bit of a jumbled mess right now. Baltimore, they've had a good rotation for much of the year, but they're starting to have some issues too. Grayson Rodriguez is out. In Cleveland, a team that we're used to having a great rotation, I mean, their rotation's terrible this year. Now they have a great bullpen to make up for it, but I think when you're going into the postseason, you really want a solid 1, 2, 3 to go into a short series. And I think the Royals are well positioned to have 3 guys that can, at the very least, keep you in the game, but I think actually win the game for you with 6, 7, maybe even 8 solid innings. Because I think the Royals can actually push these guys to pitch deeper into games, maybe use that bullpen less than they've had to in the regular season. So I'm excited to see what these guys can do in a short series, and I think that does give the Royals a nice little advantage over some of these teams that on paper maybe have won more games.
To follow up on Michael Wacha, and this feels to me, Max, like the reason the Royals went out and got him, a guy with big game, late season, postseason experience. That's a really big deal for this franchise. So how impressed have you been by just how good he's been since the All-Star break?
He just seems like the consummate professional out there. He just knows what he's doing. He does exactly what you want out of a veteran. Just kind of goes about his business, gives you 6 solid innings. I love that these guys talk to each other in the dugout. And it's also funny, he's been around so long that I guess Cole Reagans kind of grew up in high school watching Wacha in the playoffs with the Cardinals, saying, "Oh, I want to be like that guy someday." And now they're teammates and conceivably going to be starting in the same rotation in the playoffs. So I like the presence he gives some of these younger guys, and I think it's gonna help because this is gonna be the first go around in the playoffs for Cole Reagans. It's gonna be the first go around for Brady Singer if he gets to start, and Seth Lugo has never started a playoff game. So it's nice to have a guy that's maybe been there before, and he's been super impressive in the second half. I thought he was a guy that would eat some innings for the Royals and at least be maybe be a solid pitcher, but he's been much more than that. He's actually given them solid innings. Won some games. I tweeted out a stat yesterday that I almost couldn't believe. Michael Wacha's won 6 games since the All-Star break. That equals the amount of games the entire Chicago White Sox baseball team has won in the second half.
Wow.
So, Michael Wacha, a little bit better than the Chicago White Sox. But, he's been a fantastic pickup. I'm so glad the Royals got him, and he's really come up big for them this year.
Should J.J. Picollo win Executive of the Year?
I think you have to look at a team that lost 106 games and is going to be in the playoffs. How can you not give him Executive of the Year? I mean, and it's not, guys, having fluky good years or anything like that. Yeah, and Bobby Witt Jr., obviously that's a big part of it. And Dayton Moore deserves a lot of credit for drafting him. JJ, of course, was part of that front office that drafted him. But, to go out and get Lugo, who looks like the free agent steal of the off season last year, a guy that was a journeyman, swing man who was a reliever and really only got into starting last year, and to get like a Cy Young season out of him this year is really remarkable. Also, get Michael Wacha for, really, a short-term deal in which the Royals really aren't going to have to be obligated for years and years. That's a pretty good steal. And let's not forget Cole Reagans at the deadline last year, a really nice pickup. So I think he deserves a ton of credit and to keep this team competitive through some adversity. I mean, the team wasn't hitting that great for a stretch there. They had some bullpen issues. He went out and got Lucas Urseg, to fill that first base hole with the guys they got, Tommy Pham in the lineup, and then Yuli Gurriel at first. I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. I think a lot of the moves have been panning out. I think the Royals are really lucky to have a guy like J.J. Picollo at the top, who is not only a bridge to the past, where the past success, but also kind of a bridge to the future, where he understands analytics and kind of where this game is going. So, remarkable job by JJ this year.
Max Rieper, editor-in-chief at RoyalsReview.com, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. Max, we have talked about the pitching. That is certainly the reason why the Royals are where they are in the standings, on the cusp of securing a playoff berth. The offense has certainly ebbed and flowed. They dearly miss the player who was their RBI leader before he broke his thumb, Vinny Pasquantino. If you feel good about the top of the order, and I think that's reasonable to do with Tommy Pham being productive since he came over via waivers, Bobby Witt Jr. having an MVP caliber year, and Salvador Perez doing Salvador Perez things. Outside of those guys, who do you think is the most important offensive piece for the Royals, a guy that absolutely has to come through for them down the stretch and in October?
Well, I'd really like to see Maikel Garcia get going. I mean, he's a guy that has been a little bit of a disappointment all season. And if he could kind of be a guy who can create some havoc on the bases, because in the postseason, runs are going to be at a premium, right? It's not like anyone goes out and really scores a ton of runs when you're going against some of the top pitchers in a short series. So any runs you can get, I think, are at a premium. So I think if he can kind of get going a little bit, that would be huge. I mean, really anyone to lengthen that lineup a little bit, whether it's Tommy Pham, Hunter Renfroe, MJ Melendez, who's had some big moments in clutch situations. It'll be nice to see him get going, but really, someone's going to have to step up. But I don't think you need a ton of runs in this postseason. Like I said, you've got a starting rotation who's going to limit the other team to a couple of runs, if that. And so, really, the Royals just need to be able to produce a few runs, produce some offense, and whether that's going to be through their legs, making things happen on the bases, productive outs, or hitting with runners in scoring position. But they're going to have to, I don't think they're going to have to score a ton of runs, but they're going to have to produce something. So someone's going to have to step up. And, that's what's great about October is, we have some unsung heroes. Longtime Royals fans remember Buddy Biancalana, an unsung, shortstop who didn't hit his weight that year, but in the postseason he loomed large. So we'll see what that is this postseason. It's going to be exciting to see.
Looking forward to these final 15 games of the regular season and a blue October looming for the Kansas City Royals. Read all about it at RoyalsReview.com. The editor-in-chief there is Max Rieper, and he joins us this afternoon on 580 Sports Talk. Max, always a pleasure to talk ball with you. Enjoy the Royals and Pirates series this weekend, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
That is Max Rieper. We'll come back with a final word and wrap up this shortened edition of 580 Sports Talk ahead of Royals baseball here on 580 WIBW. Quick final word, gentlemen. Start us off, Spencer Dupuis.
It's going to be weird. So obviously can't watch KU, K-State tonight, be doing high school football. Tomorrow, Marshall's off. It's going to be a weird day of college football for me because I don't really have anybody to watch, like have a stake in watching anyone.
Sounds like you need to gamble.
Yes, put down a bunch of bets, and then you have lots of stakes.
But yeah, looking forward to it.
I got the Cats tonight if they lean on Avery. I got KU tonight if they lean on Neal. And I got the Chiefs on Sunday, one way or the other.
I think this is going to be a winning week for the Kansas football teams as well. The Jayhawks and the Wildcats tonight. I think the Chiefs win, and I can't shake the nagging feeling the Chiefs might blow the Bengals out. Like, really might expose the Bengals, put them up on that Summer Jam screen. Just a nagging feeling I have about that one. Royals baseball is coming up next throughout the weekend. Wildcat football on 94.5. Chiefs football Sunday on 94.5. High school football tonight. Topeka West, Shawnee Heights, 645, 106.9. Enjoy your sports weekend. We're back on Monday. For Brendan and Spencer, I'm Dan. See ya.